Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Gadadhar, Srivasadi, Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is Bhagavad Gita as it is, spoken 5,000 years ago on the battlefield of Kurukshetra by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, incarnated, Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, to a friend and relative, Arjuna, who was a soldier. Actually, more than a soldier, he was in the ruling class, as a warrior in the ruling class. And they were related, they were cousins. So this conversation is it's been worshipped and studied and relished for 5,000 years. And now we have it because a great devotee of the Lord, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami, in line of succession, Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya, is translated with commentary to help us enter into the spirit of devotional service. Hare Krishna, and thereby become free from the material conception of life, and begin to understand and realize our spiritual nature, which Krishna is explaining to Arjuna is eternal, that the soul is parcel of the Supreme Being. It's very, very small. It's invisible. You can't see it because it's not material. You can't see the spiritual with material vision. Lord Brahma says that. Premanjana charita bhakti bilochanena, with eyes anointed with the salve of love, and you can see spiritual. Hare Krishna, spiritual eyes. So we have to become spiritualized so we can perceive the presence of the Lord. And this conversation will do it. So it's text 27, and Krishna's in the middle of a series of sentences or verses describing the soul, and this is text 27. Jātasya hi dhruvo mṛtyuḥ, dhruvaṁ janma mṛtasya cha, tasmād aparihārye na tvam śocitum arhasi. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain. And one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. So he's talking about the body here. For the soul who has taken a birth, death is certain of the body. And for one's body who has died, then that soul is certain to take birth again. It's called transmigration of the soul, or reincarnation, back again. Krishna, there's a way to get out of that cycle, and that's what this is about. But we have to understand what's going on, who we are, where we are, who Krishna is, what our relationship to God is, and how to resume our eternal spiritual activities and become freed from this cycle of birth and death, over and over again, different species of life. So Prabhupada's purport: one has to take birth according to one's activities of life. After finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, the cycle of birth and death is revolving, one after the other, without liberation. This cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. So he's saying here, unnecessary. Sometimes murder, slaughter, and war may have to be applied. Like if there's a garden and there's some weeds growing. Those weeds may not actually be weeds. They may have some other use in nature, but the garden is being cultivated to produce a certain type of fruits and harvest. And those plants have not been planted there, and they need to be removed. So they're killed. So what happened in Battle of Kurukshetra is sometimes compared to that, the unnecessary, unwanted interference of those living entities causing a disturbance that had to be removed. So that's not unnecessary. Also, it said like if a soldier, and this has happened, recently there was a case, is very good at shooting and killing, and then he comes back from active duty and he just wants to shoot and kill. Now in the war, fighting an enemy, these Kali Yuga wars are all unnecessary, but just for the sake of example, it was acceptable when he was in the military fighting an enemy. But if he comes home and it's peacetime and he's shooting and killing people, oh no, he's going to go get put away somewhere, somehow. He has to be stopped. There was a case of that. He was an expert sniper in the military. I think it was the Iraq War. And he came back and he couldn't stop sniping. And he would park his car and hide in the trunk. He made a little hole through the trunk so that he could, with a telescope, and he would target people hiding in the trunk of his car. So that was not acceptable. They had to find that guy and then put him away because so unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. It doesn't support that. But at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. The Battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event. And to fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid of or aggrieved at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts, of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. But that attachment was so strong. These are my relatives. These are my family members. I can't shoot and kill. I can't kill them. They're my family members. It's all I have in this world is my family members. I can't do it. So Krishna's having to explain. He has to do it. How awful. But in the proper discharge of duty, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Sometimes circumstances divide family members. I think, I'm not well versed on it, but in the Civil War, some family members, brothers were fighting brothers. Some family members were on the side of the Federalists and some were on the side of states' rights. And it split families. And they were fighting and killing each other. So even on that level, these things happen. In general, the Kshatriya has a sense of, or the soldier, or the policeman, they have that sense of dying in the course of discharging my duty is an honorable death, because everyone has to die anyway, right, the body? So if I die in the discharge, I die as a hero. So I think that was part of Arjuna's dilemma also, is that, yes, it's my duty, but what kind of a hero will I be? I just get sinful reaction for killing family members. What kind of hero is that? What kind of honorable decide is dishonorable? And Krishna's trying to explain, no, it's not dishonorable. They are behaving in ways that are disturbing the whole planet, and they have to be stopped. And I want you and your brothers to take over ruling. Yeah, I think that's in there. And it comes from the Kshatriyas, their understanding that dying in the line of battle, they go to higher planets. That's how they go. Is they fight, and if they're killed, they go to a higher kingdom. Fighting on a just cause. So Arjuna went, is this a just cause? Or is this some horrible, sinful crime? Am I going to be punished forever and ever and ever for doing something really horrible? He has to be sure. So that he can take up his position as a Kshatriya with full faith. So there's 18 chapters, beginning of chapter 2. Krishna,